was chatting with Paul Jeffries last night. Please go over and check his site out. He's not just building my engine, he does engines for a lot of people and gearboxes. He's an engine gearbox specialist. Paul Jeffries is the site to look for. So, I was talking with Paul last night, and one of the things that came up was that obviously most people are running LCBs now rather than the short manifold like that used to be on the 850s, like that one where it's all one piece. That was the old style one, we had one branch going off it. So most people are running LCBs now, so consequently that means it's going to fail there. So we've rigged it up this morning and it does fail here. So the remedy to it is I'm going to put a section which I've just made in there like that. So I'll weld this in, it'll be square to that one. Weld this in and then I'll cut this out once it's welded, which will keep the frame rigidity. If there's any issues, I'll put a small gussets across here and it'll still give us enough room to clear the floor, and then the manifold can sit in, so you can put the engine in and put the manifold on easily, the LCB afterwards. So I'm going to weld this up and then I'll cut it out and we'll try it out before we paint it. Okay, so as you can see, basically I put this box section, this window section in first, and then I've cut down. There's a, for this particular one, this is a manifold, I think this is stage 1, it's just a little bit of room, probably enough to get a cigarette paper between it. So what I'm going to do, I'll take the engine back off and I'm going to, it's just here, it's very, here you can see around the edge, but I'm just going to take this corner out and drop it down at a bit of an angle, so it fits really snugly in case he's got a, in case the stage 3 is a little bit bigger, which I think it is. Hopefully the collector will go through there. So that's where we're at. So that's pretty, it's tightened up. It's up, the flanges are right up against the cylinder head. So, and you can see a nice bit of gap down the back there now. So what I did was I just basically sliced it in the front and tapered it down. What I will do now though, just to put a extra bit of, I'm going to put a gusset from here to here. Okay, so this is the finished article for Paul. Again, like I say, I've made this so that this just comes out. You can see it's not even sprayed, so that comes out. So now all you've got to do is worry about this height here, the casters, if you want to put it away on its side. Okay, so what I've done is I've done that at a very slight angle in case he wants to use a stage 3 LCB, so it's a bit beefier. And I've put this gusset here on the side. And the only reason I've done it on one side, it was strong enough, I stood on it, it's no sweat, but this has got a slightly longer run here than it does on that side. It's quite close to the corner. And it wasn't moving anyway, but I thought, what the hell, I'll put it in, and so he doesn't have any issues with it. So that's the finished article. I could close these up, but there isn't any need. So what I'll do is I'll just go through with you the one I'm just about to make for ourselves. This one's going to Paul. So I'll show you how that's done, or the measurements. So starting building the second frame, the material I've got is 3 centimeter box section, and I think it's 1.2, probably 1.2 mil thickness. The side pieces are 70 centimeters, and the ends are 50. So when if you put them in the center, by the time you get from one end to the other, you're at 76.5 centimeters from end to end, because you're putting them on the box. So I've got these angles in just now. Now, even though I have to cut this piece out to come down, I'm doing it this way so I can make sure that it's square, because obviously I only have 2 of these. Well, I actually have 3, but the other one is rather large. And so basically, so I can make it square first, and then I can cut it where I want it. And the piece that I cut out, obviously, as I cut it and drop it down, I'll use that and just put 2 legs on it. So it's simple as that. But I'll go through that as we go. So it's 70 by 50, and it's 3 centimeter box. So as you can see, there's the welds in the corner. There. So I've got the basic frame set up. This is the casters I'm going to use on this one. I have to get two new ones. I've got two that are brakes, and I'll get two normal ones, because the ones with the brakes tend to be quite a bit more expensive. So the only thing you need to be aware of when you're putting the casters on is you need to know the size of the caster. So these in total height without a steel plate on them are 13 centimeters down. The ones on the original one, which were second hand, are 11.5. So it's something you need to be aware of to adjust that height. So whatever size drop you want in it, you can make it deeper, but you definitely don't want to make it shallower. And I'll go over that in a minute. So as I say, what I'll do with these now is I'll make a plate for these and bolt them to the plate, because then if one of the bearings goes or one of the wheels is damaged or broken, I can replace it. If you weld these directly on, it can be a real issue, because then you've got to cut the weld off, and you could easily damage it. It's easier to put them on a plate, bolt them on. It's a few more nuts and bolts, but it's well worth it. What I'll do is I'll actually put all these measurements up onto the screen, and then you can pause it if you want to take a note of them. These plates here, what I would suggest with them is that these plates are 3mm. They don't need to be as strong as that. 2 is probably enough. They're 10.5 by 7.5. But again, I say I'll put them all up on the screen. But you can make the plate out of whatever you feel. But definitely the way to do this is to make the plate, take the engine mount and put it on, and actually mark the holes from the engine mount, and then drill them. If you've got a pedestal drill, that's brilliant, but if you can't, just drill them out and then make them so that they're as square to the plate as you can get. And then the way to do that is to actually bolt them to the mounting, bring the engine down, and whatever piece you're using for the side. This particular one is a very heavy box, but it's just something I happen to have. This is a 5 by 5 centimeter, but it's at least 5mm thick. It's extremely thick, this. I did that because I can put the welder up very high and get good penetration on the side. So the way to do it is to get it lined up where you want it, have this plate attached to the mounting, and bring whatever your support plate's going to be up to it, and just tack it in place. And do one at a time until you get it right. Just tack it, lift the engine out, and then take it away, take it out and re-weld the whole thing completely. That's the way we did it. We got them in place first here, and then I welded all the way around it, and then I cut it. We tack welded it on here, and then I cut it off at the end afterwards, just so we could get the positioning right. So that's probably the way to do that. It's very basic, this. There's not a lot to it, and as I say, at the moment I've made this now so there's a drop in there of 9 centimeters, but in fact with these ones I'm probably going to make it 10 centimeter a drop. So if I can come down to about there, a little bit more. So if I've got on the track day car, I've got a stage 3 LCB, and I believe it's quite a bit fatter, the diameter fatter, it's a bigger diameter, so I'm going to make this a little bit further down. But only just remember, as I say, if you don't have that height, you have to work to that. So you can see here, for instance, that if I had that straight, that's at least ½ centimetre or a centimetre higher. So I'm going to have the depth to do it, because you don't want this dragging on the floor. As far as the engine study is concerned, it's pretty basic. We just made a piece of bar. I made 2 things for it here, top and a bottom. I took the plates first and I put them together, and I drilled them right through so that I knew it would go in. We put the dog bone in for the stabilizer, and then I tacked it with the stabilizer on it, so it's a reasonably good fit. It's not jerking around. And that's really all there is to it. There really is not much more than that. So I'll get this one off to, this will be coming over with me to the UK. for pull, and hopefully we'll put an engine in it and you can run one. And the other one, I will have to put the casters on it, because I forgot about the depth of the sump, or not just the sump but the gearbox as well. And then what I'll do is I'll bring blocks with me so that I can put it underneath the frame itself and the wheels are off the ground. I don't want them damaging the back of our Mercedes V-Class. So that's what I'll do. I'll make it all up, and I'll hopefully in another video I'll show you when it's all finished. But this is the basically the finished article. It's not too bad. It's not that heavy. Certainly, if you take that out, you can see there. There's not a lot of width to it. I think you can probably be able to put that away without too much problem. So, but what I said, as I said, what I'll do is I'll put all these numbers and everything onto a part of the video, so you can just pause it and you can write them down or whatever. But there's not a lot to it. It's pretty basic, and but I think very adaptable. You know, it's a nice idea to be able to test an engine after you've built it, or if you've got it back from somebody who's built it and you can test it before you put it in. It's a lot of work putting an engine in, not so much in the Mini but certain cars. So on that note, stay safe, keep the faith, enjoy your hobby, and the next videos will be on the track day car, so hopefully I'll get the same response that I got on this particular video. So take care, bye for now.